you must have older children. That's awesome. Maybe not. I want to let you know, in the past, sometimes you have been given the actual enrollment book and an enrollment form at this meeting, only because your child had already seen it. Tonight, you're not getting that, because I will be back at the middle school tomorrow, meeting with all the kids, and I'm going to go over that with them. I want to be the one to explain to them how our credit system works. Not that I don't trust you all, but I don't trust you all. Okay? I want to make sure they get the information from me. After tomorrow, they can explain it to you, and you can ask questions to me if you need to through phone or email. Okay? So we will get started. If you did not pick up a yellow form, please make sure you get one. They're just sitting there on the bench. All right, so as I said, welcome to the high school. I'm going to tell you that when I typed this up, when I was prepping for this, writing the class of 2020 is kind of frightening to me. Every year I type that and I'm like, oh, it's only 4 years away. All right, first thing, for all of you children who are sitting here, getting involved. It is very, very, very important that you get involved. Not everybody is an athlete. Not everybody can sing or dance. Not everybody can play an instrument. If you don't fall into any of those categories, that's okay. You can still get involved in the high school. And that includes parents. We want you to be involved at the high school. Because the more you're involved and know what your kiddos are doing, let's just say the more exciting high school will be, in a good way, not a bad way. Okay? So, Booster Club is an opportunity. You can find a Booster Club on the district website. There's always a contact. Is anybody here in contact with the Booster Club? I always like to see if anybody's involved. They want to see anything. Oh, look at you. Okay, so you can talk to Sarah if you need anything. She will hook you up. Okay? I know there's some kind of form you fill out and you have to like volunteer your life away and stuff, but it's fun. It's awesome. I said awesome, right? So there's some volunteer work that can be done with the Booster Club, and it's always fun to be involved with the kids. Research does show that students who are involved in extracurricular activities, clubs, and organizations do better in high school. If you got a kid that does nothing but go to school to do their work and go home, and then they're typically not as happy. So research is always good to know. Things that you can do after high school. We have all kinds of clubs and organizations. So you can get involved in SCCLA, FBLA, KAY, the Rowdy Crowd, Stuco, MHS, Thespians, NFL. It's nothing to do with football. Scholars Bowl, SAD, and one that I noticed today that wasn't on there is a club called Circle of Friends that we have. That's pretty awesome. So check into those. When you guys come over for your first day of high school next year, the first day when it's just freshmen and new students, we have kind of like a little bazaar or fair where you can go around and talk to different reps from each of the different clubs and organizations. So right now it's just a bunch of letters up there that don't mean a lot of stuff. It'll make more sense as we get involved in it. Other things you can do if you're looking at those going, I don't want to volunteer, I don't really want to get in front of people. These are the activities that you can do. Some of them are outside of school, some of them are in school. Dances, obviously anybody that attends the high school can come to the majority of our dances, minus prom, you have to be junior or senior. Plays and musicals, Miss Jansen can hook you up with those. Jazz band, esprit de corps, debate, forensics, cat tracks, K-Cat yearbook. Those are all classes. Those are actual elective classes at the high school that you can take. It's in your day. You go to it every day. And then some of those do also have additional requirements outside of the school day. Then we have cheerleading, classic cats. Those require a tryout. Being the mascot, if you want to be Willie the Wildcat. I believe they do tryouts for that as well. And then the flag team is part of the band. For athletics, there's a list of what we offer at the high school. You can kind of see it's pretty typical. The one thing I think mostly that we have different is bowling. You don't have bowling in middle school, right? Or soccer. Didn't know that. Golf? You don't have golf in middle school? No. We got all kinds of fun things you didn't know about. There you go. So if you're interested in any of those activities, the fall sports, you should be getting information about them from the coaches here before the end of the year. Primarily interest in summer activities. If you're going to be participating in a fall sport, you're going to want to get involved in what the high school does over the summer. All right, graduation requirements. These are pretty standard. We haven't changed them much over the last few years, so if you've seen them recently, you know them. English, we do require 4 credits of English. You have to have English 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you take them your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. End of story, that's what you do, okay? Science, we require 3 credits. Everybody as a freshman takes biology. You can't get out of it, I'm gonna make you take it, okay? After that, you get to pick 2 classes. You typically will take a track of biology, chemistry, earth space, physics, or you can take biology, earth space. We'll talk about those later. Right now, you just need to know you're taking biology. Everybody here. Social studies, you're required to take 3 credits. Guess what? You don't have to take any next year. Can I get an amen? Clap something. You don't have to take any history class as a freshman. I know for all of you people who like history, you're thinking, boy, that's interesting. Anyway, we take it sophomore, junior, and senior year. Because of the size of our school and the electives that we offer, those are the 3 classes you will take for history, period. Okay, so world studies, American studies, and then your senior year you will take civics and topics. Math, you will take 3 credits. We have a math track, and actually your enrollment papers and everything that I'm going to do with you guys for enrollment will happen through your math class. We intentionally do that for a reason because that's the one area that people have the most question about typically when we enter into high school. Where do we start? What class am I going to go into? We like to have the backing of your middle school math teacher to kind of help guide us in what track you're going to go into. So when I come to speak to you guys, I'll be in your math classes tomorrow. So we'll be doing that. You have to take 3 credits of math. There's always questions from parents. If my student starts in pre-algebra, which is the first level of class that we have at the high school, does that count? Yes. Gone are the days that didn't count. That counts for graduation. You know, in college, sometimes if you don't test into college algebra, you take that beginner algebra class, which really doesn't count for anything. It's not the same at the high school. So whatever math class we put them in as a freshman will count for graduation. Okay. They will either enter in pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, or algebra 2. So there's really 4 options, okay? And they have to take 3 credits of math. For physical education, they have to take 1 credit. You will complete that your freshman year. We require that you take 1 semester of health and 1 semester of PE. You get it out of your way your freshman year. After that, if you want to take a PE class, you're welcome to, but you'll be done with the credit for graduation. Next is career and technical education. We added this requirement just a few years ago, so we are focusing on getting kids prepared for something beyond high school. It's not just we want you to be done with high school, but we want you to have an idea of what you want to do after you leave us. So we encourage our students to follow one of our pathways. The yellow paper that you have on one side is a list of those CTE pathways. So you can see that we offer a variety of pathways. I try to talk to the kids about what their interests are, what they think they want to do after high school, and we try to find a pathway that kind of fits into that. So the requirement is 1 credit. Every freshman will take a class called Business Essentials. It's basically our intro into careers. They're required to take that their freshman year, and then sometime in high school they have to take an additional half credit. Okay? And they can take any class off this list. We'll count for that. Fine arts, we require 1 credit. That can be anything in the theater department, band, choir, art. And we do also, for those of you who don't like to sing, dance, draw, or paint, we do allow you to take the first level of drafting. It's drafting CAD 1. That can count for half of your fine arts credits, so then you only have to take one of those other classes 1 time. Okay? And then finally, we rounded out with 8 additional classes of electives, and those can be anything. So we back up to the math, where it's only required that you take 3 credits. If you take a 4th year of math, it's just going to count towards that 8 electives, okay? So, what do you not see on there that everybody's going to ask? Foreign language. That's the biggest question I always get every year. Foreign language is not required for graduation. It's not required for college entrance. Is it important? Of course it's important. Think about the world we live in. It is a very good thing to take a foreign language. I would encourage your students to take a foreign language. However, it is not required. If your student is going to follow the track for Kansas Scholars, which we'll get into in a minute, that is the one graduation requirement track that requires foreign language. Okay, so there is one that requires it, but not the general. To graduate from Mulvane High School, you have to have 24 credits, and you have to have been in attendance for 8 semesters. At the high school, we promote based on the number of credits you've earned, not the number of years you were there. So if you have completed your first year of high school and you've earned at least 5 credits, your second year you will be classified as a sophomore. If you complete your first year of high school and you fail to earn 5 credits, let's say you earned 4.5 because you have failed something, then you will again the following year on paper be classified as a freshman. Does that mean you're repeating all of those classes? No. You take a class, when you pass it, you move on in that area. So if you passed your math class, you're going to move on to the next math class. If you failed your English class, you're going to repeat it. Okay? It's one thing kids don't get. So classification numbers, those are good to know. 5 to be a sophomore, 11 to be a junior, and 17 to be a senior. The 17 one's very important to people. All right, for college-bound students, I mentioned that there are some different tracks. We have 3 different tracks that we typically go through with kids. Our general grad requirements, which are what we just reviewed. Then we have qualified admissions. Qualified admissions is a guaranteed acceptance into a state university in the state of Kansas. Okay, we have 6 of those. We have Kansas State, the University of Kansas, Wichita State, Pittsburgh State, Fort Hays State, and Emporia State. So those 6 schools, if you want to attend one of them, you have to meet the requirements for what's called qualified admissions. The next one is called Kansas Scholars. And Kansas Scholars is an opportunity for a student to earn additional scholarship money based on the curriculum that they took in high school. They get a nice little certificate that says they've met these requirements, and this is the one track that requires the foreign language. It requires 2 credits of foreign language, and they have to be in the same language. So we offer Spanish and French at the high school. You would have to either take 2 years of Spanish or 2 years of French. You can take one of each. And we'll get into more of those in just a minute. Then the last 2 that are listed there would be for anybody that's interested in participating in athletics beyond high school. There are 2 different categories that require you to do something in addition to just graduate. NCAA, and there's 3 divisions of NCAA, Division 1, 2, and 3, and those are schools like K-State, KU, Emporia, Pittsburgh State. Those are D1 and D2 schools. They require that you go through what's called a clearinghouse. Used to, they said that this should start your junior year of high school. They're dropping that down, folks, all the time. So I want to make sure if you are sitting here and you are a super athlete and you feel like you're going to participate at that level, you really need to think about it your freshman year of high school. You've got to go in knowing I have to meet these requirements because they require 16 core classes, which means you're probably not going to want to take the welding or the wood shop class that won't count for that. Instead, you're going to want to take the Spanish. Okay? And so if you're really thinking those things, then we need to start talking your freshman year and coming up with a plan to make sure you've met that requirement. We have had students in the past that decide their junior year, hey, this D2 school is looking at me and they haven't had that thought, and then we are scrambling to make up. Okay, so it's always good to have, you even have the thought, let's think about it now, let's put those classes in. NCAA is probably the most difficult one because they do require the additional core. There's a fee involved with registration, which now they want you to register at the beginning of your sophomore year, so good to know. The last one is NAIA, which is another athletic registration piece, and that's for schools like Southwestern College, Friends. Those schools are NAIA. It's usually the four-year universities that are private. They also have their registration. Theirs are not nearly as rigid as NCAA, so if your junior year you decide you want to look at athletics at one of those places, it's usually not a big deal. The NCAA is the big one. Never used to have to do that piece. All right, the plan of study. The other side of your yellow form is a four-year plan of study. This is important. You will fill this out every year that you're at the high school. I would encourage you to keep this. You're going to fill it out. If you fill this out tonight or start looking at it tonight, you want to bring it tomorrow because then you're ahead of the game, okay? We are required to have a signed plan of study on file in the counseling office. The plan of study must be completed for all 4 years. That's the first question you're going to ask. I'm only enrolling for my freshman year. Why do I need that? You need that for things like NCAA. Because if you're thinking ahead, you're going to know that by my senior year, I have to have 16 core credits. If that's going to require 2 years of Spanish, I have to, before my senior year, take at least one of those classes. Okay? We want to plan those things out. In your curriculum guide that you will get tomorrow, which looks like this. This is like the golden ticket right here. There is another plan of study in here, so your student will get an additional one. On page 10. We do the plan of study every year for enrollment, so don't be shocked when you get it every year. If you keep this cute little paper, you can just revisit it every year, and then you're ahead of the game as well. So I know trying to get a teenager to keep anything for longer than 2 hours is hard, but you could try. Okay. Process of enrollment. The first step is parent night. Welcome, you've all passed. You're here. That's just information and questions. All right? The second step is class meetings. Those are going to happen tomorrow. So tomorrow, like I said, I'm going to come over and I'm going to meet with all kids. We will review the materials. I will go much more in depth with them about how you earn credits, what it looks like, all that business. We get all mathy and stuff. It's fun. So we'll go over that. They can then ask questions. So when you get home tonight, you're looking at this. Also, the curriculum guide is posted on the school district's website. If you go to the high school, counseling office, enrollment, it's all there. You can pull it up online. So if they have questions or you have questions, send them with them tomorrow. The next step would be pre-enrollment forms, which they will also get tomorrow, and it looks like this. And guess what's on the back of it? Another 4-year plan of study. I know kids don't keep things. I'm going to give you like 1,000 copies of that, baby. All right, so their enrollment form is purple. This is the one they're going to turn in. They have to keep track of this, okay? So you're going to fill it out. They're going to get them tomorrow and work on them with me. I will help them, and then you guys obviously have some say in it. I encourage you as a parent, every year your student's going to get this. Every year we ask them to get it signed by you because we want to know you know what they're taking. I don't want to get a phone call from you, in November. Well, I thought Johnny was going to take Spanish this year. Okay? If you don't see it and you ask questions, call me. We'll figure out something, okay? So we do require that you have that every year. We always get them back without signatures, and I'm not ever going to not enroll a kid because we didn't get it. I know things happen. But if you have questions, please feel free to call us anytime. So these are going to be due on March 24th. We really struggled with when are we handing them out and when are they due. We like to do it in a real short time frame because they're teenagers and they can't keep things for more than 2 hours. However, spring break is joining us very quickly here, and so I didn't feel like it was realistic to give them to you tonight and say I got to have them by tomorrow. So that's why. They'll be due after spring break. So if you can keep track of them before then, good job. Request entry is the final step of enrollment. Your students will all be joining us at the high school. We bus them over. We're going to spend a morning together. We'll have a little assembly where our student council representatives will all sit down and chat with them about what it's like to be at the high school. They'll reassure them that there are no swirlies happening in the bathrooms and all that kind of stuff. So kind of give them an example of that. We will take them in a computer lab, we'll have their enrollment form, and they're going to enter their enrollment form, their courses into the computer. And that is where we generate the schedules. It's very important that they do that. If you do not have a completed and signed enrollment form, you cannot put your classes in the computer. I don't know many of you very well, but if you don't put your classes in the computer, I get to choose them. And sometimes I have fun with that. So I would highly recommend a signature and a paper on the day that you do that. Mrs. Jansen doesn't like it when I put him in choir sometimes, but I've never had it. It's fun. All right, so required 9th grade courses. Your students will be required. We kind of talked about some of them. Everybody takes English 1, that's a given. Everybody takes a math class, and that will be determined tomorrow with your math teacher. Okay, and it's on your plan of study. It kind of lists these. Everybody takes health and PE. Everybody takes biology. Everybody takes advisory. And then you have 3 full-year spots for electives. So that's really what you're choosing. Those are your choice classes. Everybody has to take business essentials. I don't put it in the form because that class can happen first or second semester. And I want you to have the flexibility of saying if there's an elective that you want to take, it's only offered first semester, for example, then your business essentials will go second semester. And we'll talk about a lot of those specific classes with the kids tomorrow. So really what you're looking at, parents, and helping them decide are 3 full-year elective options. So you can run them however you want. If you want to do 4 semester classes in 1 year-long class to round it out, or whatever mix you want to do. So really, as a parent, that's what you're going to try and help them figure out. What are my electives? The rest of the course stuff will get them done. And then making sure that you've filled out the 4-year plan. I do want you to look beyond your freshman year, because it never fails. And if there's something that you've heard about and you really want to take it at some point, you've got to make sure you've met the prerequisites. And we'll talk about what those things are tomorrow. The reason that you all really showed up, driver's ed. Who came for driver's ed? Raise your hand if really that's where you're here. And nobody, well, thank you. You two are honest. I appreciate it. It's really the only reason people come to this meeting, because they know this is where they get them. All right, so last thing, driver's ed. Driver's ed is a little confusing if you don't understand it completely. If you've had a kid go through it, it will be so bad for you. It consists of 3 weeks of coursework. So they're going to come to the high school every day for 3 weeks. They're going to come for 2-hour blocks, and they're going to sit in the classroom. They're going to take lots of tests. You must be there for all 3 weeks. Okay? I'll say that one more time. You must be there for all 3 weeks. So if you're planning a vacation, or if your child has 1,055 camps like mine does, you're going to want to make sure that you are really looking at calendars. Okay? It's important that they have to be there. The state says if they miss 1 day, they cannot pass. We have things scheduled that our district schedules. They sometimes will work around those. So don't freak out if we schedule a volleyball camp or the football camp and it runs into both of them. We'll be required to do that. They will not work around something that is scheduled outside of our needs. Okay? So keep that in mind. We do have morning and afternoon options. So if your student takes swim lessons or does something, pitching lessons, catching lessons, and you know it's always in the morning, you want to put them in the afternoon class or vice versa. Okay. In addition to the 3 weeks of coursework, they have to drive for 1 week. The driving can happen anytime from their first day of class until the end of July. So if they did the first 3 weeks in June of class time and they went to the high school every day, it's quite possible they won't drive until after the 4th of July. Right? It's also quite possible they will drive during one of those 3 weeks. It's just scheduled based on your conflicts. I cannot address with you how important it is to put any conflict, because the drive time can occur any time between those 6 weeks that we have. If you're thinking, I'm going to put them in the first 3-week class for classwork, and you forget to write down that you have a vacation in July, and then they get scheduled to drive in July, it's very difficult for those teachers to rearrange those drive times. So if it's something insignificant and you think it's probably not going to matter, write it down anyway, because we want to know. We don't want to schedule them at a time they can't be there. All right, questions. It can be about driver's ed, it can be about enrollment, it can be about I'm terrified my child's going to high school, anything. You pick these up on your way out. I'll tell them to you though. There are 2 sessions. We have the first session, which is June 6th through the 24th, and those are the class times. And then they can drive anytime between June 6th and July 15th. The second one is June 13th through July 1st, and they can drive anywhere between June 13th and July 22nd. So, but I'll have these, I'll stick them right where I had the children when we came in. Any other questions? Yes. It comes and goes from year to year, so I never want to take it off. Yeah. So, it just depends on who's there, who wants to do it. So, I never take it off, because if it looks interesting to you and you get there in the beginning of the year, we don't have it, then you come and talk to somebody and say, hey, I was really interested in that. Because if we get enough kids interested, then we have it again. Okay? Yes? I'm going to put them right here. When you leave, you can pick one up. Anything else over here? Yes? Yeah. Yes, they do have to be 14 before April 1st to take driver's ed. And it's listed on there as well. Anything else? I will be here for a few minutes. If you had a question and just don't want to ask it in front of the group, I understand. You can do that too. And then I will put the forms over there, please.